I want to say thank you to Silver Horse Garage and to David A. for this video. This is Kamala's first interview as president nominee and her running mate, Walz.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here.
They have the very same facial movement. There is so much stress coming into this interview. The mouth, both of them, pulled open and the corners of the mouth pulled way back. The stress and tension, she's gated on top, him on the bottom. We're going to go over some few things so we don't have to address this later. So the stress has been in here from the very beginning. And we already know, I believe there's 48 minutes of the entire interview. And we got, I think they released less than half. So Kamala, she's putting her hands on the table. She's gated. She's pretty much being upfront to you that you're not going to get an open conversation. She's put her hands together. They're intertwined. She's gated. Walz, he's put his hands underneath the table. He's hiding. And before this goes any further with the conspiracies, with the hand shape, finger movements, whatever, if you do a stress position enough, it becomes muscle memory, and that is what your go-to position is every time you're in stress, because you don't have to think about it. It's not a secret symbol. It is just where the mind goes. It's in stress. The body goes into a comfortable position that it remembers, and that is what he's doing. And he's hiding under the table, same as Miss Purple Lady. So right out of the bat, we can say there is an underlying stress. Nobody's going to give you the truth. If they do, it'll be highly washed.
In Georgia, you have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities.
So we're accessing visual memory there, because there is going to be a point where she references the mic in her ear. And if you go look for the Clinton interviews when she was running for president, you will understand what we are talking about, the mic indication. We will go over it a little bit, but not in the detail we did with Clinton.
Is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at...
So we have that strengthen the middle class. It's the same kind of concept you do when you have to do something. And in this sense, that little nod to the side, thrown over to the side, pretty much get away from me from the side. We have to do something with the middle class.
The aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people. I think that people are ready for a new way forward. In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in...
So this is where her homework kicked in. You went from the contrast of really struggling to get through the words. Her eyes are really focused inward. She's not looking at anyone to help the brain think. And then it flows out on this part, because this is the homework that she did. This is the part of the question I can answer fluently because I actually remember it.
America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda, too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be. And I think many of these things that the Vice President's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We did it in Minnesota. To have a federal partner in this, unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You know what? This guy did his homework thoroughly. He was an A student in his class. He read that out real quickly.
When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited.
I don't know what has happened with Walz here, but it was something. He went from sitting up straight to slowly beginning through this interview. And again, it's all cut up, so we have no idea. And we don't even get to see the parts of its entirety of when this began, which is his slumping down. The shoulders are rolling down. His head is going down. He's literally making himself smaller as if he's trying to hide. And it happens to get worse at this particular time. But because we don't see the beginning of it, we can't even put it into context on the why.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did.
All right, so we're watching that. She's gotten called out about banning fracking. And we know what she has said, but we also know what she has done. I made that clear on the debate stage of 2020, and you see the bounce effect. The head goes in the positive, but the whole body bounces with it. And this is actually an underlying theme with her. Every time she's just flat out lying to you, she bounces.
Would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
So she goes over that. She bounced in it. And then at the end of it, tight-lipped, very tight. By the way, she actually has muscle memory for here too. I call it duck face. Sexy. For her, at this point, it has become muscle memory. So it's her go-to comfortable position for her lips in stress is duck face.
2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed.
Oh, you caught me. Literally mouths the words, oh. Believe me lip comes in, the rest of the face falls down, eyes wide. Oh, you got me.
In that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my...
So you see a little bit of the bouncing as far as going forward, not changing her position. Prior to that, as the brain is trying to dig around, how do I get out of being caught in a lie? And her head is literally going in a circle as it mimics her actually going to all areas of her brain, trying to get out. People are funny that way. You ever watch a person when they're trying to get out of something? Their eyeballs are either going in a circle as they're accessing different parts of their brain, or their head goes in a circle as they're accessing parts of the brain. And the dumber they are, they literally go in circles as they access their brain. So I guess we could say that she's in the middle. Not retard, but not smart.
My word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, excuse me.
We could do it without banning fracking. She looks like she's still erratic, so she's still searching for an out. The lack of eye contact, the quick movements, the referencing other areas. There's a recipe that's going to happen. We'll go over that a little later. And Walz he's going to show us that one in such a simple form that hopefully you'll be able to use that pattern in everyday life for the psychos.
I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president.
You also actually increase leases for fracking, and you see the bouncing up and down. So there's your out and out lie. And for the new people, lying is many things. Lying could be omitting truth. Lying can be exaggerating. It has many levels. Welcome to body language.
Okay. Another issue, big one, is immigration. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries.
Oh, it's coming, she knows. So she went from hiding. Obviously, she's very not happy with this particular line of questioning. So she comes out of hiding. She comes up with the table, the hands gated. Oh, I'm going to be truthful with you. I'm going to be gated in all my responses, but I'm going to be open to the fact that I'm going to be gated with you. That's literally what that hand position means, which is unfortunately why a lot of normal people, someone does that to them and they think, oh, they're so honest. They're honestly going to deceive me. Like, the only honest part is that they said by their body, they're going to lie to you. Oh, but I digress.
I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
Walz, he's like, that taking it back. Like, I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump. And Harris, I tell you what, now I understand the crush memes. Holy cow. That was like, oh, yay, Donald Trump. The face is like lights up. There's all this happiness. Donald Trump. The smile is big. The corners are curled up. There's excitement in the face.
But surprised, people might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about.
That's going to change soon. And the mouth immediately, even opens up like she can't help herself. Oh, it's going to be Donald Trump. It's so awesome. He's the man. Oh, my Lord. All you got to do is grab him by the pussy.
Is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes. Questioning.
All right, so she reads what he said. She just happened to turn black for political purposes. She still has the smile. It's a genuine smile. The lips are going tight, so the teeth aren't showing anymore. It's almost like I disappointed Mr. Trump. And she throws her head to the side. We've seen that earlier in the interview when she threw out helping the middle class. Like, let me throw that over to the side too.
The core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
Oh, Podgy Harris. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
Don't answer her phone calls or any of her emails. My grandma knows this from experience.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you...
All right. So for those of you who do not know, this individual has been accused of stolen valor by apparently his COs. I was actually thinking when he is confronted, we should see something like, oh, yeah, I should not have done that, or, ooh, just something, anything. But he's completely relaxed. He's just like, yeah, I did that.
Misspoke. Did you?
In the positive.
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country.
And we have a recipe that begins to develop. All right, this is actually a really good learning moment. And most of you have to deal with somebody doing this to them. And usually they're in position of power. And they're in position of power because nobody recognizes this recipe. It happens a lot. There are good people at it and there are bad people at it. And there are bad people bad at it. So I told you there'd be chocolate stuff in here. A is chocolate beans, cocoa beans. And B through Z is all the ingredients that makes that chocolate bean go from extreme bitterness to a delicious, delightful treat. So she has introduced A. So now he's introducing the B through Z.
In a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom.
So he starts out the B through Z with the closing of the eyes and rolling it away. I'm going to get rid of A right now. And I'm going to tell you B through Z. This is going to be like, oh, fluff up the recipe. I'm extremely proud of my service. I'm extremely proud of being a school teacher. Notable professions in the USA that are highly respected. Well, one of them used to be, anyway. And it disarms the person whom they're speaking to because it tastes good. B through Z is the sugar, the vanilla, the coffee. It's all the good stuff that makes things taste so good.
Whether it's Congress or the governor, my record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves. And
this is the sugar. I speak like you do. You'll get to know me. You'll like me. Time will be on my side.
And I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So
get around the policies that I'm talking about. We don't want to hurt our children.
So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years.
I think people know me. In other words, I'm isolating you from the herd, which to human beings is panicky. They don't like being isolated from the herd. They want to join the herd. And he's telling you the herd is with him. I'll remind you, all of this is just the B through Z recipe to cover up A. All of it.
To speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war.
So she had to bring back the A, like, oh, these are really great ingredients. Where's A?
Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war.
He rolls it off his shoulder from the side again. Oh, and he brings you in the FDA approval. Oh, I was talking about a school shooting. That's what it was. That's your FDA approval that the cocoa beans are organic from a regenerative farm. We all know how the FDA is.
And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar's not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean.
And just so you know, it's always an attack on me or my children, an attack on the dog. That's the trust the science. I got jokes today.
Another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
One other question, because again, this is all new.
Yeah.
This was not, however many days ago, this was not on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunken.
This recipe is going to play out again. Trust me, it just keeps happening. And this is why it was really cool that we get to see this. And then you get to learn the recipe with multiple examples. So we have two A's here. The lying about IVF and lying about an arrest.
Reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them.
So here's your B through Z. All these people, oh, they love me, my students. Remember, I'm a school teacher, an honored position. My coworkers, people that know me, like me. Why don't you?
The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And
I'm going to turn it around. Forget the lie. It's the sweetness of it that's the best part. It was so hard and emotional sugar.
I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am.
So he turns it around to, oh, they're trying to take my rights away. So it's an emotional trigger. When they start using emotional triggers as the sugar in whatever they're trying to cover up with the B through Z in this recipe, he's got nothing else. At this point, you have moved from organic sugar to corn syrup. And instead of butter, you're using canola oil. Blech. And because he is so versed in this speaking recipe, and remember we talked about muscle memory, he is relaxed. This is his go-to way of speaking. Whenever he's caught manipulating you, this is how he talks. And he's very relaxed at it because it works. Probably 99% of the time because of how relaxed he is. There's no stress in the face. There's nothing I can point to other than there's no stress. Let's see if we can figure out what the FDA approval is in his little recipe for this particular set.
Know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against.
There's your FDA. I'm protecting reproductive rights. Not quite sure where the arrest thing is. That must be something he's having a hard time thinking up for the lie.
Vice President's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
Vice President Harris.
They didn't let the recipe play out. I guess it didn't go well. Pretty much as you saw at the end of his little speech before they completely just went to a different part. He adjusted himself in that chair. We've seen that quite a few times of him adjusting himself and have no idea what the hell transpired prior to that. Now we got a little taste.
You were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are